Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and what's old is new again because cable TV companies are now selling bundles of streaming services in an effort to hang on to subscribers. Will it work? It might. In fact, the cable companies may make a lot more money. Let's get to it. So let's start off with a big announcement that Comcast made last week. They are going to offer a bundle of Peacock, which they own, Netflix and Apple TV Plus at a, quote, vastly reduced price, unquote. And the CEO of Comcast went further to say that this is not going to be an introductory offer. It's going to be available to all of their customers. And to get it, of course, you have to be a Comcast Internet subscriber. So they're trying to retain some subscribers through this deal. And the goal is to add value, they say, and at the same time, take some dollars out of other companies' streaming businesses. Now, what's interesting about this deal is that it not only is another bundle that Comcast can offer to kind of hang on to customers who have been leaving, but it also shows just how different the cable TV business is from the streaming business. So take a look at this. This is the rate card for cable TV channels in my area. If you hit the link on screen here, Lon.TV/Comcast rate card, you type in your zip code, you can get the rate card for your area. But you'll see that TV plans go from $24 a month up to $90 a month. And then, of course, there are some fees like the local broadcast fee that sits outside of this. But nonetheless, when you pay $70 or $90 a month for TV, that includes the infrastructure to bring that TV into your home. But it also includes fees that Comcast has to pay back to the network. So, for example, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all of those are on these plans, or at least most of them. And for every subscriber, Comcast has to pay back to the network a fee every year that they have to renegotiate. And that, of course, was ESPN's bread and butter. ESPN would go to cable companies and say, not only do we want the fee, but we want our channel on every tier that you offer. So to a large degree, the cable companies were often at the mercy of these big cable networks. And look at what you can pay here, $90 a month, right? Well, if we go over to the internet side, it costs the same, and the internet side of their business is almost entirely infrastructure. Comcast doesn't have to pay anyone else beyond maybe some of their peering partners for the bandwidth for you to get onto the internet. So most of these dollars, if not all of them, go back to Comcast. This is a real profit driver for them. So as people cut the cord but keep the internet, Comcast actually does better because they make a lot more money per subscriber on the internet side than they do on the TV side. And to make things even better for Comcast, not only do they not have to pay for content anymore, they can get paid for content by the streaming providers. There is a great story that I've talked about before in Quartz called The Inside Story of How Netflix Came to Pay Comcast for Internet Traffic. And basically Netflix and every other streaming provider has to pay Comcast essentially a network fee, or a rental fee, if you will, to put their servers inside of Comcast's network, because Comcast was dialing back how much traffic could come in from the outside to their network of customers. And it was only until Netflix started paying and putting their servers inside of Comcast's overall network that performance of Netflix got better. So back in the early days of Netflix streaming, Comcast started dialing back the spigot a little bit until Netflix paid up and put their servers inside. And now Netflix has to pay Comcast, which is something that you're paying for indirectly through your subscription fee, to keep the performance level up. And this, again, is true of every other streaming provider. So if you do a trace route of the traffic coming from Netflix or Disney Plus or any of the other providers out there, you will see that the video content is not coming from the internet at all. It is coming from inside of Comcast's network, where these streaming providers are operating servers and presumably paying for those servers to be there. And you might say, doesn't that run afoul of net neutrality? It doesn't, because this practice was kept out of the net neutrality regulations even back when Obama was president, when they were first implemented. So this is all just business, and it's very opaque to us consumers. This article, I thought, was a real insight that we haven't seen much of since, but it does give you a good sense as to how much better the streaming world is for Comcast and other ISPs than the cable TV world was. Now, of course, Comcast is the master of bundling. I know a lot of people around my neck of the woods that are using their Xfinity mobile service. This is a cellular phone service that I think is using Verizon's network under one of these MVNO agreements. And look at this deal. If you've got internet and TV with them, you can get an unlimited line for free when you buy another one, which can save people a lot of money if they were looking to buy their phone service separate from their cable and their internet. So Comcast makes it very difficult for their customers to leave because it might be more expensive to buy all these things separately on their own. And of course, you can't get the deal unless you are an Xfinity customer. They also offer discounts when you have multiple products, right? So when my mom had internet and TV, she got a $20 discount off her plan, which was enough to cover the cost of the home phone service. Again, another thing that would cost her more to get on her own. So these are the sorts of things that Comcast has been able to leverage because of their market size. They can make these deals and then make it very hard for consumers to move away because then they have to figure out what they're going to do with their phone, their internet, their smartphones, and all the other stuff that they want to use. So very, very smart from the Comcast side here, and they will continue now with streaming discounts to make it even harder to leave them. But some of the smaller ISPs are getting in on it too. So GoNetspeed, who we visited last year to check out their infrastructure, has a deal with Lon.TV, which allows you to buy a bundle of streaming services through them. There's really no compelling discount here, but there are ways to make kind of subscribing to all these services a little more convenient. Frontier, another fiber optic provider in my area, allows you to buy YouTube TV through them, and they give you a $10 discount off the price for a year. Again, another lock-in, and that is done through your Frontier fiber optic bill. It's not billed separately. And then we're seeing streaming providers that make hardware like Roku offering discounts on some of the lower tier streaming services, and they want you to bundle with them so that you're locked into Roku and paying them a monthly fee every month, and of course using their boxes to do it. And we're also seeing some other examples of competing services trying to bundle themselves together. So for example, Disney announced recently, actually about a week ago, that they're going to be doing a bundle with Warner Brothers for Hulu, Max, and Disney Plus. Again, another way to keep people locked in and prevent them from leaving. And on the more nefarious side, you have the Fire TV here, which apparently just started this new practice of subscribing you to an app when you download it. And then, of course, Amazon will bill you for, in this case, Paramount Plus. You can read more about that on my friend Eliasaba's AFTV news website. So there's all sorts of efforts here to get people to bundle up and pay one source for all of these streaming services, just like we used to do for cable television. And the reason why the industry is kind of coalescing into this is because of all of the financial difficulties that these streaming services are facing. So Disney Plus, which everyone thought was going to destroy Netflix, lost 1.3 million subscribers after they raised prices recently. Paramount is in total chaos right now with its chief executive officer stepping down right in the middle of perhaps a big merger. And what they are all finding is that consumers are demanding very high budget, high quality originals. And if they're not finding something they want to watch, we now have the power to subscribe to all of these things a la carte on a month-to-month basis. If Disney Plus isn't doing it for me this month, I can unsubscribe and come back when there's something that I want to see again. I know a lot of you have written in over the last year or two telling me you all do just that. We are empowered as consumers, and these streaming providers don't like the uncertainty of when people are going to jump ship and come back. So this is why these bundles are becoming such a big deal. So shareholders are telling these streaming companies, you've got to bring the churn rate down. Be more like Netflix, who has a very low churn rate, even though they've raised prices and even though they've implemented a lot of other restrictions like banishing the account sharing that they used to allow people to do. But Netflix has a much deeper library. They've had several years of a head start against all of their competitors. So there's more to watch on Netflix, and people are more likely to stay on Netflix, even though it's probably the most expensive of the streaming services at the moment. At the top of the churn rate chart there is Apple TV Plus. And I think what's happened with Apple TV is they raised their prices, and they also don't have that deep of a library. So over time, perhaps that churn rate for Apple TV may go down. But thankfully, Apple is a very profitable company in some of the other areas that they're in. But companies like Paramount, Max, Hulu, and Disney Plus This is now their entire business, and they are struggling, and shareholders are not happy. So that's why we're going to see a lot more collaboration between these things. I think we're going to see a big merger here with Paramount Plus and perhaps one of these players to try to thin out the competition a bit. But it's definitely a problem, and unfortunately, the problem that they identify is consumers exercising their choice. So where do we go from here? Who's going to win with all these bundles? Well, I think the big winners are going to be ISPs who can retain customers and perhaps make it harder for them to switch to something else. And perhaps a lower price for internet service may not be enough if you're saving money on the streaming services that you're also subscribed to. And Comcast has a lot of ability to leverage that. Streaming providers, I think, also win here because they reduce that churn rate, which their shareholders want them to reduce. So even if they get less in subscription revenue, they're hanging on to customers over a longer period of time. And you're better off making a little less from a subscriber than losing them entirely, which I'm guessing is what they are thinking about there. The losers, though, are the broadcasters like your local TV networks, because everyone is sick of paying for their TV broadcasts, and they're making it even harder to get them for free. And ultimately, people are cutting the cord because they want to stop paying for things that they don't watch or don't think they need to pay for any longer. So I think that's going to be an issue. We've talked a lot about the broadcaster issues there. Also in this bucket are traditional cable networks, because again, people are going to be dropping those TV subscriptions and picking up one of these streaming bundles. But I also think consumers are going to lose out here because it's going to get harder to exercise your consumer rights of choice, because you're going to be locked into all these different bundles. And although it might make sense to drop off one part of it, you can't drop everything, whether it's your ISP, your streaming channel layout, and all the other things you might be paying for month to month. We're going to have a lot less flexibility when all of these services get intertwined, unfortunately. So the future, well, I think we're going to be disincentivized to go a la carte on a lot of this stuff. It's going to become a lot less convenient to subscribe and unsubscribe to services, especially if your Netflix is bundled with 2 other services that you may not be watching. And it's also going to get more expensive to subscribe to things individually, because unfortunately we as consumers don't have the power that Comcast has to make these deals, and ultimately you'll be paying more if you're doing everything separately versus going in on a single bundle. So the cable company strikes back here, and I think this is where the industry is going from here. Thankfully, YouTube is its own thing, and hopefully you'll keep watching me and all of your other favorite creators. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Budley, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Steve Green, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.